Hey, welcome to On Tour with Emo Kids podcast. We are here with Geoff Rickly from the band Thursday, but he does way more than that. He does way more than just Thursday. He's an author and he's also in multiple bands. Busy guy. It was super hard to get him available for this, but we are stoked that he could carve out some time for us. Everyone, welcome Geoff Rickly. We're gonna do a quick short bio. Go for it, Steve.
Geoff Rickly is influencer mogul of the industry, of the scene. You may know him from bands like Thursday, but he's also played in other bands called No Devotion and United Nations, as well as a very established published author, which you recently released. You can find that on Rose Books, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, you have a audiobook for that as well, too. Is that correct?
It's out now on Audible, yeah.
Do you actually prefer the audiobook over the written book, or is it something that you would prefer readers to?
I'm a reader, so I always read physical books, but the audiobook, I did it myself, narrating it, and I made like a 4-hour score. So when you like listening, there's like I put music.
Oh, so you are the narrator in your own book.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the way to do it, man.
And not to mention a score for your own book. That's pretty. That's like running the gamut right there.
I hope he makes everyone else here look like chumps, not working hard enough. Yeah, I did the score too, and I did it, and I wrote it. This is like I woke up today.
I hope some of you guys are actually out there living life. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like
you see a computer screen quite often. I'm guessing. I feel you, bro. That's my life too.
I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who's wrote a score for a book before. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
That's how it ended up in Audible Original. They were like, we've never seen anybody do this before, so you know, this is cool. It's like, all right.
Well, that's so cool.
When you say score, did you write it like a composer would in like a movie or television as you're listening?
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
composing. Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I like read it first, and once I had that edited and done, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna gonna go all out in this and score it. You know, there's a lot of drug use in the book, so every time there's a drug used in the book, there's a score that. So when you're sober, when the character's sober, no score, and as soon as the drugs come in, then it's like the score goes and starts going.
Wow.
Okay, so I have a question about
cool.
that, because I know that the book is about your heroin addiction, which you've talked about, as well as your recuperation with psychedelics.
That's right.
Right. So is each drug like a different type of score?
Exactly. Exactly. So like the beginning of the book where like the character of Geoff is still having like a lot of heroin experience. It's like strings. It's like mostly like orchestral.
Right.
It's like a very beautiful, sleepy kind of vibe. And then when the psychedelics and stuff come in, it's like all these like melting machines and like keyboards and drum.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that.
You know, I haven't bought an audiobook in probably a decade, but that might be one I have to pick up, because I love to read, but I haven't read much with our time schedule these days. But audiobook is something we could just pop on while we're on tour and listen as we go.
That might be something we're just gonna have to listen to in the van.
Yeah, as a band.
While we're driving, for sure. As a band, for sure.
So I do. The van is a great place for audiobooks. I remember when I was with a band called Ink and Dagger, I used to sing for them some. We all listened to the Cro-Mags audiobook. It's incredible because it's like a New York hardcore legend being like, this is the time I went to Frankie the Rat's house and we lit his down. You know, it's like, what?
Well, that's better. Sam makes us listen to Goose for our drive, so that'll be much better for sure. Or it's like Louis C.K. or something like that, some stand-up comedy.
Comedy's great. Yeah.
We're a bunch of clowns. What can we say?
The more Jordan complains about my music, the deeper I go into jam band world.
Yeah, we actually just did a podcast. They just released it, but they asked us a question: what song would he play at his funeral? And he's like, "If I die before Jordan, I'm going to play the longest Goose track ever." I'm like, "Thanks, bro." Yeah, so it's like he just listens to music to spite me now, I think.
How long
dude, I love that stuff.
Goose track?
There's a couple versions of live songs that are like 30 minutes long with the jam in between.
Nice.
I honestly don't think it bugs me as much as I think Sam thinks it bugs me.
I don't say anything until you do.
Here's the thing. So obviously, as you know, Geoff, we play like emo music covers across the country. Sure. So we just listen to anything but emo music. We're like, please don't play.
I get it.
So honestly, Goose is fine. We walk into like some venues sometimes and they're like playing all this emo music that we're going to play that night. We're like, please no, please stop. Please turn it.
Actually, with that being said, do you listen to your own music?
It's really funny you should ask that, because similarly, I almost never listen to music with vocals. Being the singer, I just would rather listen. So when people ask me like, what new record are you listening to? I'm like, I don't think you want to hear like Glenn Branca or like Anton Raphael Izrahi or something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like you're not gonna like what I was.
Hey, that was actually one of the questions we had for you later. So we already got that one answered. Well, quick, I'm sure we could banter forever, but yeah, I just want to talk quickly about how all of us know Geoff Rickly and Thursday specifically. So I'll start, but I remember I was like racking my brain, like, when was the first time I heard Thursday? And it was actually, so our bass player's not here, but I think Randall introduced it to me. And we were at a band practice in our garage. We just started listening to it. We're like, "Holy shit! What is this stuff, man?" So this was back. I think what album was this was Full
Probably
Collapse.
2000
For me, Full
2000,
Collapse. I didn't hear Waiting, but I got introduced in 2001, Full Collapse. But in our garage, we always got in trouble from the neighbors playing too loud. But that was what I remember, man. It was just like a great album. Obviously, the follow up War All the Time, just phenomenal. We you know, for the listeners that don't know, we got to play a song with Geoff in Vegas a couple of years ago. We played Signals Over the Air. So
yeah,
super rad song. I know we were going to do War All the Time. I think you and I talked, Geoff. We're like, maybe that's not the vibe for the pool party.
Yeah. I think like Signals is the song that like we had a lot of friends who were strippers who would strip to Signals. So like that's a good party song. That's like the closest we come.
Oh wow.
Well, hey, I didn't know that, and it was definitely the right vibe for sure. I think we had some girls scantily clad to the right of you that
it was
fit
a party.
that vibe for sure. It was a party. Speaking of which, I know it's been a long time coming, but I think it's better that we held off. But I have the actual footage of that we're going to release shortly around this podcast, so we can kind of have the fans enjoy that as well. So I finally finished editing that. Totally my bad. But yeah, looking forward to releasing that, and hopefully everyone enjoys that, because I think it was super fun. I mean, I'm not sure if you ever played at a club in Vegas, but I think that was a first for us too. And the lights are just going. It's a really cool looking video. So I hope you enjoy it.
That show was supposed to be outside.
That's right. Yeah, but it was too windy, right?
It was too windy, yeah. But I think the inside was the move, because we were playing like this spectacular.
The inside was the move.
Yeah.
You know, another time that I played like a club like that was I did a solo show with Kurt Travis, and while I was trying to set up my gear on stage, there were 4, I don't know if it was like stripping or kind of just dancing, but it was very provocative, and I was sort of like, while I was trying to set up, I was sort of butt level trying to like trying to mind my own business. But it was even wilder because it was just me and an acoustic guitar, you know? So it was kind of like, oh, this is a very different mood is about to be on, you know, here.
How'd you discover Geoff Rickly and Thursday or any of the other bands?
Well, for me, in 2001, I was in high school. I was a freshman. I just started playing music, and at the time, the only edgy rock that I listened to was pop punk. You know, so Blink-182 and all those bands. And then my bandmate at the time, our friend Nick, he introduced me to Cross Out the Eyes, and I'll never forget being like, wait, you can scream over this kind of music? Like I had no idea. It was the first time, I think at the time, was introduced to me as Screamo, right? That was, I would say, was a pivotal moment, because I had not heard anything like that. And then after that, it just was this waterfall into heavier music. So I have you to thank for that.
Yeah, Steve is our metalhead for sure.
Yes, I am.
Well, so that brings up a good point, Geoff. What would you call it, or what did you call it before everyone like kind of said Screamo?
We always just said we were like a post-hardcore band, but you know, we definitely were a bridge into something else. You know, post-hardcore at the time was like Quicksand and stuff like that. There were Screamo bands called Screamo bands before us, but they were like Seisha and Orchid and like a very much heavier kind of thing. Like they had almost no singing in their bands. But I do remember, like, it's harder for the younger kids today to understand. Like Thursday was like a major moment of the early 2000s. It was sort of like comparable maybe to a band like Turnstile now, where it was like a whole bunch never listened to underground music. It was suddenly like the thing that like opened their eyes to like a different vibe, a different sound, you know?
Yeah. Bringing that up, actually, I was just thinking about this. So you're obviously a madman on stage in your bands. Dude, I was shocked, and maybe I shouldn't be, because there's like that meme about it. There's like Geoff Rickly on stage and in his bands, and then like you meet him in person. He's like this like gentle soul. But they always say, right? They're like, have you seen, I don't know if you've seen that meme, right? The heavy metal singer on stage is like, ah, and then he's like, then the heavy metal singer at the merch booth, and he's just like, like wearing the Mr. Rogers like outfit.
There's like the 2 golden retrievers, and it's like golden retriever. He's like growling, and then it's like Golden Retriever Solo Project. And he's like so happy.
Yeah, dude, you've been super nice when we met you the first time, and yeah, just this super gentle soul, and then get this madman on stage is a totally different dude.
My neighbors, like in my neighborhood, like I've been living in the same place for a long time, and they think of me as like the sweet guy next door, and a few of them came to see Thursday finally, and they were like, "What?"
Yeah. So Jason, how'd you discover Geoff Rickly Thursday?
Yeah, so Geoff, I listened to Thursday back in high school, and just to age myself, I graduated in '02. And it's funny, kind of a full circle moment for me with you on this podcast today. I mean, I basically graduated high school. I went to college briefly at Eastern Illinois. Ended up meeting a girl, and I ended up moving out to Boise, Idaho.
Oh yeah.
Before I made the move, I mean, I was playing in bands and playing drums for, marching band and then just local bands and around the scene in Illinois. And I basically hung my hat per se. I remember selling my kit. I was like, well, I'm going to get a new start, move to Idaho. And so I wasn't even drumming for about a year. While I was living out there, I had a job working at the airport. I was working at a car rental agency, and I'd have to bring the cars up and down to the airport and to the bay, and during those times I'd just blast music. And this time was around '03. I think that's when War All the Time came out. You guys were, and I believe it was Story of the Year, were on the the main rock station out there in Idaho, and I remember just listening to it, and it just lit this fire in me, and I was like, man, I gotta get back on drums. I have to. So I ended up, long story short, moving to LA, went to Musicians Institute, played with some bands, ended up meeting, all these guys today. We've been friends for many years, but pretty much you're the reason why I wanted to get back in the saddle.
I
So
love that.
It's
so
every time
beautiful.
I'd be at working this mundane job, and I was like, you know what? I have to do it. I have to get back behind the kit. So thank you for leading me on this path. You pivoted my life. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's awesome. A lot of different stories.
Wait, how about Sam?
Yeah. So I was actually a little late to the party, but I got one of my buddies took me to the Echoplex when you guys did 20 years of War, or it wasn't 20 years, but it was a full performance of. I think you did 2 albums, but the one that I went to was War All the Time, and it was awesome. I'd never really listened to you guys before, but I went to the show, and he had just broken his leg, so he was in a wheelchair, so we were a little bit farther back. But actually, no, we had both just broken our legs. That's right. So we both
What the
showed
fuck
up.
were you guys doing?
No, it was Bobby and I, but we broke our legs on separate occasions within like a month of each other, and so we both showed up like
That's cute.
he was in a wheelchair and I was in like crutches, and we were just there like waving our shit around. We had a blast. We couldn't really get in the pit or anything, but that's how I heard of you guys, and yeah, what a fantastic show.
Oh
That's so cool. What's funny about that is I think probably you're talking about the 20 years of Full Collapse, which was we did one night Full Collapse, one night World at the Echoplex. That was 2001. And I think that was the last tour before I fell off the stage and broke my leg and had to do the rest of the tour on a scooter.
wow.
God.
Wow.
Did you have to finish the tour with a broken leg?
I actually got surgery on a day off, got screws put in my leg, and then had to play on stage the hometown show with like freshly out of surgery. Yeah, it was brutal.
Were you sitting on a stool or in a wheelchair during the whole set?
I had like a scooter, like a knee scooter.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
So it's like I was standing up with like one knee on a scooter and then like the wheels locked basically. It was pretty tough.
Yeah, that's rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
That must have been tough for you who likes to fly around the stage.
Yeah, really tough. So I was like doing a lot of like,
oh yeah, moving as best you could.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's actually a perfect segue into the meat of this. So
great.
Podcast is called On Tour with Emo Kids, and that's really what it's about. We actually had an older podcast where we like just bullshitted, and we're like, the best part of it was just talking about funny tour stories, and so we pivoted, and now this is all about funny, wacky, crazy, scary tour stories. So we're gonna, I'm not sure if you have one or a couple prepared, but we're just gonna let you go. We'll probably have questions along the way, but
Yeah.
Geoff, tell us some of your tour stories, man, through the years. I'm sure we got some doozies.
Well, that one, that we started with is pretty good because it was Valentine's Day We played San Francisco. The show was amazing. I step off the stage. It's so dark. I go to the front of the stage to sing A Hole in the World. The end of it has this like screaming part. And I go to the front of the stage so all the kids can scream along. And I fall off the stage, break my leg, get up, immediately know it's broken. Like immediately.
Oh.
That's definitely broken because I'm trying to stand on it. It just won't support it. Get back on stage. I finish off and I'm like, yeah, my leg's broken and nobody believes me. Everybody's like, it's probably sprained. I'm like, definitely broke. Like, get an ambulance to come meet me at the end of the show. And I'm like trying to get through the show and I'm just like feeling all the adrenaline start to leave my body. And now I can feel like how much it hurts. I'm
Oh.
singing, but I'm like waiting. And at the end of the show, a promoter comes in, they're like, okay, we got a cab outside. And I was like, a cab? Like, okay. Anybody have a wheelchair? And they're like, we have an office chair. So I sit in the office chair and they
Wow.
venue and I get in the cab. And as I'm trying to leave, this guy's like, wait. And I'm like, what? He's like, could you sign this poster? And I was like, yeah, I signed the poster. The rest of the tour, I have this little scooter and people get me horns and like little things to put on it. And they start doing this thing at the beginning of shows where they put on The Show Must Go On by Queen or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm coming out, scooting out on my butt and then getting on this scooter and I start like flexing for the whole crowd, like, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they love that. I'm sure they love that.
Dude, my favorite part of that story is that a promoter is definitely not paying for an ambulance.
No, they were like, yeah, how about it?
Yeah, that sounds like a promoter right there for sure.
Well, the funniest part was, this is so ridiculous. So I have to get like the surgery. It's like $17,000. Like, of course I don't have health insurance, but I'm like, hey, I was on the job. I know we have workman's comp, right? And we find out that like right before the tour, like our accountant was trying to save money and took just the 4 members of the band off the workman's comp because all our employees have to have it. But they're like, technically the owners don't have to have workman's comp.
Wow.
They took me off.
No.
I didn't get any coverage at all.
Oh.
What are the odds of that, man?
That's really like,
that's Murphy's Law right there. Whatever bad can happen will happen.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, I had a friend, the same thing happened. Like literally just got off health insurance and then like broke his leg in like 3 spots. I had to like do a GoFundMe for him. But yeah, I feel like that's the thing, like don't ever stop it because that's what's like the accident gods are like, excellent.
Yep. It's funny, like our drummer, Tucker, he plays in a bunch of other bands. He plays in Alice Dunes. Right now he's out with My Chemical Romance. He's on, part of their stage show and stuff. But he also played in this hardcore band called Murphy's Law. And I was like, greatest name for a band ever, Murphy's Law. Like great. Like it's so true.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I've never actually even thought of that as a band name.
Yeah. They're
It's taken.
Classic.
It's taken, yeah.
Well, now you can.
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I think Thursday recently opened up for MCR a couple years ago, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great.
We've done it a couple times.
So we played their first reunion show, and then we were supposed to play before, but then COVID happened, so that got pushed way back, and then we played it later. And then after the arena tour that we played with them, they did a stadium tour where every night was a different opener. So we did the New Jersey show.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I saw some of that. I was rooting you on from the socials, bro. That was super cool to see that.
So I was going to ask you if you have any cool memories or cool tour stories from that MCR tour recently.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite memory is probably the New Jersey show because, it's 86,000 people, sold out show.
Hometown.
And thinking like, will this be weird? You know what I mean? Because you're like checking, like they let us check, which, usually maybe even you wouldn't get to check as an opening spot on a stadium, but they let us sound check. And in the empty stadium, when Tucker would hit the kick drum, it would sound like thunder rolling around the seats. You wouldn't hear like
that's awesome.
That's crazy.
And you thought, oh man, I hope it like tightens up when there's people in here, but as soon as there's people in there, you don't hear anything. It's like totally like dead. But it was really cool because you think, will I be nervous? And then you look out and it reminds me of like, if you've ever played like a video game, like Gran Turismo or something where it's like there's stands and they just make it a blur. Like you can't see it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You like 1,000 people in front of you and that's it, So it was,
wow.
It's actually like, you weren't nervous at all because it just felt like playing a video game.
How loud is being in front of 86,000 people?
Yeah, they were. We weren't loud. You couldn't hear yourself really.
That's so cool.
Well, it doesn't matter because Jeff only has vocals in his in-ears anyway, from what I
That's
remember.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He drowns out the band because it's all about the money right here.
Ah.
So for Thursday, they're so loud that I really don't need anything except for myself. And then the only thing we put in our monitors, like physical monitors, is the kick drum. So none of us get lost. So it's kick drum and then vocal and mic.
Oh,
The rest I can hear from how loud our guitar players are, you know.
Wow, I remember that. I totally forgot that was the case when we played with you. Like just vocals. I don't hear you guys at all.
It's
like rock and roll, baby.
There's too many variables. You know what I mean? It's like the mix can change so much that I'm just like just put me in there and I'm fine. You know what I mean? Let's make it really easy.
Man, you know, it's funny. Like I'm sure you were the same way, but like back in the day, we would just raw dog it, right? It was just stage sound, and like good luck. And it's funny when we first started using in-ear monitors, Steve was like, "I'm never doing it."
Me too. Me too.
And then I think the first time, I guess Steve could tell the story. The first time he ever heard it, he was like, "What the?"
Yeah, you know, I mean, I spent my whole life trying. You know, I would wear earplugs on stage because that dampens the sound and you can hear everything. And for me, it's all about balance mix, and I didn't realize how balanced in-ears would be once you actually nailed it, once you figured it out.
Yeah, for me, it's like I was just like, oh, I can actually sing. Like everybody would be like, Jeff live, and it's like, oh, as soon as I have in-ear monitors, it's like, oh yeah, I actually can sing. I just couldn't hear myself at all. You know,
Nice.
crazy. And like I never lose my voice anymore because I'm not trying to shout over a guitar.
Yeah, that's the big thing, man. We play like 2-hour shows every single night.
Yeah.
And then people come up to me after shows, they're like, "I lost my voice. How do you do this multiple times?" It's like, that's 100% it. It's like I'm not straining at all. You know? I sing so that I can hear it and my monitor's okay. It's really up to the front of house to make sure they got that dialed. But if no one else can hear me, sorry, it's not on me.
That's the thing. It's like you sing how you sing, and hopefully you get a front of house person that can mix you. You know what I mean? Like that's the way to do it. When you're compete, it's like, dude, you have one.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah, you're gonna lose. So yeah, no, it's a funny thing, and I've had lots of mishaps with it, and especially early. You asked about the DIY tours. Like I have so many stories from when we were like a little DIY band playing basements and attics.
Hey man, go for it.
Yeah. Well, when we started to blow up, but we were still playing all the DIY shows. I remember like we played the Fireside Bowl in Chicago, you know, it was like a bowling alley. You know, it was sold out, but like maybe 800 or 900 people that didn't have tickets came anyway to try and get in. The Fireside were like, you can't play here anymore. Like, we love you guys, but you can't play here anymore. It's like, we're going to get shut down by the cops if you keep playing. But the one that I remember the best was we played like a garage or like a basement in upstate New York. And it was so jammed. They put hundreds of people in there, which I used to do when I had a basement, you know, that did shows. They put like hundreds of people in there, and it probably should have held like 30 or 40 people. And and it was so jammed that I remember it's the only time that we played Cross Out the Eyes last. And there's the part where the band stops and it's like "Till We Die," and the whole crowd was like "Till we," and Tucker had passed out. It was so hot, and there were so many people jumping around on him that nobody noticed that he had passed out. So it was just like "Till we die," and he was just like, "Where's Tucker?" And we took him outside. And we're like, yeah, we're done. We can't play." And Tucker was like, "Nah, fuck that. We're gonna finish this song." So he walked back and "Till we finish the song.
And that's a rad. That's a rad.
Honestly, I think is that show filmed? There's like OG footage of that on the internet? I feel like that's something I've seen before. I mean, I've seen plenty of DIY shows from your early days of you guys playing in basements where the place is crazy and going wild, and you guys have no room on stage, and people are jumping on stage with you and singing along, and honestly, it's
the
awesome.
Days, back in the days,
yeah.
That
sweaty basements.
Period. You know, when we were like too big to be still doing it, but we were doing it, was some of my favorite times. We played this one festival. I think it was called the Skate Fest or the Surf. It was in Massachusetts. It was at the Worcester Palladium. And there were two rooms. So the big room at the Worcester Palladium and then the small room at the Worcester Palladium. But the way they did it was if you had a ticket for the festival, you could go to either room, which was a great idea, except for the fact that like we probably should have been on the main stage that we wanted to play the small stage. It was like the small stage was like Converge, American Nightmare. You know, it's like all bands like that. We're playing with like our friends up there. So we go up there and the whole crowd jams into the small room. And there are so many people on stage that I get knocked out and passed around the crowd, passed out. So they're just crowd surfing me around. Nobody can find me. And eventually they find me passed out like on the side. And I was like, man, that's so epic. I had a girl that I had
Like
just
Weekend
started.
at Bernie's with Thursday.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
there.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Weekend at Thursday.
And I was like, wow, that was so cool, so epic. Like this girl that I just started seeing, like I brought her to the show and I was like, she's gonna be so impressed. And like she was like, that was too crazy. I don't want to date you. Like that was weird. Like
That's
Yeah,
that's
she,
rock and
she
roll.
wasn't the right
Dang it.
one then.
Yeah, for sure.
Dang
She was
it.
not the right one.
That's so funny. Thursday at Bernie's, you say,
Yeah.
Jordan?
Mhm.
Well, no, yeah,
Weekend
it's
at
Thursday at
Bernie's,
Bernie's.
yeah, Thursday edition.
Yeah.
Those are two
Thursdays
banger
at
stories.
Bernie's.
Yeah, those are two banger stories right in a row, man. Wow.
Nice.
I mean, so I know that you definitely have some van or tour bus or RV stories. And any ones that come to mind, like nightmare scenarios, or do you guys prank each other at all? Is that something you guys do?
We don't do as much pranking as we used to because I think it's just like you grow up and you're like, I don't want anybody like messing with me like I mess with people. Way back when with Sparta, we really took it pretty far. I think
Can't wait for
there
this.
was one point at which we made their whole van into a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So we like covered it in peanut butter and jelly and then like loaves of bread all over the side. And then like birds came and started eating it and they were like shitting all over their van.
No
Pretty
way.
bad. But they managed to hide 2 cans of tuna fish open in our van that we literally for months, and we were like, "Fuck, it still smells so bad in here. What did they do?" Like, it was so you know what I mean? And then finally we found it and we're like, "I fucking knew they did something to this van." You know what I mean? Really bad.
We would have thought it was Jason's feet or something.
That's the thing. We went through like waves of denial and then like anger. You know, every stage of grief we had about that van. Also, I used to like with the van, this is sort of like not a prank. This is just like I used to drive. I haven't had a license in a really long time, but I used to drive with Thursday. And I used to do this thing they called me the space cowboy in Thursday because I would sort of like forget what I was doing and run out of gas. All the time, all the time, like on really long overnight drives. I drive for like all night long and at like 5 a.m, I will have like forgotten to get gas. And there was a time when I like, you know, you would lose the power steering when the gas went on the van. And
Yeah.
like Iowa or Idaho or somewhere, and I lost the power on the steering and we ended up in a cornfield and the whole band was asleep. And I was just like sitting in the middle of this cornfield, like, oh shit, they're gonna be mad. But I was like, well, I'll let them sleep. So I just got out of the van and started walking around the cornfield. And then I was like, oh, I should take it's so pretty. So when they started waking up, I was outside taking pictures. Or like we thought it was like some kind of a weird art experiment, or like you would do it like trying to get our reactions. And I was like, oh no, I was just pictures because it was pretty out. Weirdly, like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Green Room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like it starts with like a really similar thing. And I actually saw like an early screening of that film where the director was there. And afterwards I was like, man, I gotta know, like, did you hear this story? Did somebody tell you this story? And he was like, yeah, but from this other band, it happened to them too. And I was like,
Wow.
man, it's so crazy that like that's the thing that happened to multiple bands is like they ran out of gas and got stranded in like cornfields.
Yeah, we got a cornfield story back in the day. We're California kids. We never even seen a cornfield, so we're like in the cornfield, and our tour manager at the time like was like terrified of it, probably from like all the scary movies. And so at the
Yeah,
like
sure.
we just like we all talked about it. And we're like, all right, on the count of 3, just run. And so all of us ran away from this guy, strands him in the middle of this cornfield, and all you hear is him just screaming. So
yeah, we had
somebody
a weird out to that story, which is that like we didn't have cell phones yet. And we were far. We were really far from anything. So me and Tuck walked like 2 miles and finally found houses. And we were like walking along trying to decide which house to ask for help at. But all the
Oh God.
dogs at them that weren't chained up. So after like half a mile of walking, we had a pack of dogs following us where we were like, are they going to attack us? Like it feels like any wrong move and they're going to come at us. Like if we even go to like a door, like these dogs might attack us. So finally a car came and we like flagged the car down and they took us to a gas station. We got one of those big red cans of the
Yeah,
gas.
I wish I could have seen that shot of you two walking down the street with a pack of dogs behind. That would have been a sick album cover.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. Too bad I didn't still have the camera, right? You know, I left it.
Right. Wow. That's great, man. That's great. So someone in your comments mentioned one of your vans tour bus sliding down a mountain in '01. Does that sound familiar? They were asking where that happened, but I'd love to hear this story.
So I always tell this story. So right now we're on tour doing like it's the anniversary of 3 records for April. Like that's what we did. We did like all these 3 anniversaries we had. Our last record came out 15 years ago in April. The one before that, or 2 before that, was City by the Light Divided, came out 20 years ago. And then Full Collapse came out in April of 25 years ago now. So we were doing these 3 records, 2 sets. I felt like we were in Goose, you know, jamming out this long
Yeah.
tour. But the first set, we did like a more experimental kind of thing where I would start the set in the balcony with these like handheld lights and I'd be singing out there. And so we did all these like weird things, but there's one song that starts with vocals. So I would tell the story and then immediately start screaming and this band would come in halfway through. And the story was the story of driving home. It was December 22nd. We finished tour with Saves the Day in, I think it was either Portland or Seattle. And we were like all the way out there trying to make it home in 3 days for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, how do we?
Yeah.
So we just start, you know, we just get in the van, say like, we're going to do this without breaks. You know, if we take shit, only stop for gas. When you stop for gas, you all have to go to the bathroom. You all have to get food and get back in the van. You know, that's like kind of like the only way we can do it. But we get to the mountains between Oregon and Idaho. We get there and there's these mountains, these mountain ranges, and it's snowing up in the mountains. And we were like, man, you know, we pull over. We're like, let's get some chains for our wheels. And all these truck drivers are like, you kids don't want to drive in this. It's like way too brutal for a bunch of kids in a van. You know what I mean? Like chains are not going to help. Don't do it. We're like, yeah. No, they're only professional drivers. You know, what the fuck do these guys know? We get in the van. We're driving up the mountain and we're fine. We're at the top of the mountain driving and we are fine. And we start going down the mountain and the van's just sliding, like no traction whatsoever. We're just sliding and we start sliding sideways and we see behind us, there's all these 18-wheeler trucks sliding down behind us and they're like heavier than we are, you know? So we're like,
Wow.
but the thing is, it was like snowy and it felt slow and gentle. You know what I mean? It was like this really surreal, like everything was quiet. We were just kind of slowly sliding.
White knuckling it.
Yeah, white knuckling it. And they're coming closer and closer. And we finally slide to the bottom of the mountain range and like we're fine, but the trucks are still coming, you know? And
Jeez.
slides right up to like 10 feet away from us. It was like so close. And we were fine, you know, and that's the way that story ends is it's like, we were okay. We were sad. And it goes right into the song.
Oh, sick.
But it was pretty scary.
I'm actually from that area. So I could think of like 5 places where that could have happened.
It's funny. I'm like watching Sam like while I tell the story and he's like, yeah, that sounds familiar.
That's been me.
Most importantly, did you make it home for Christmas?
We did make it home.
You did?
Hey,
yeah, we did good.
That's
Like
awesome.
planes, trains, and automobiles.
Crazy. It was a crazy Christmas too, because you know, we had been on tour and we didn't really know, but when we got home, MTV was like wall to walling Understanding the Car Crash. It was on like every 15 minutes through Christmas. Sick. And then by the new year, they had made clips from that video part of the MTV news, like, like they used to do this collage.
Yeah.
Past clips. So we were like, what is happening? You know what I mean? We had made the video like almost a year earlier and it never got any traction. And then all of a sudden it was like overnight, it was everywhere. So it was pretty strange.
That's got to be a pretty crazy experience to, you know, put all your heart and soul into a song and a music video, let it go, disregard it for a year, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's on MTV.
Yeah, I mean, when we gave Victory the video, I remember Tony saying, the guy who owned the label saying like, I don't know why you did this song. This isn't the hit. And then he said, but then again, I guess there are no hits on this record. And we're like,
oof.
Okay.
Sweet.
You know what I mean?
Thanks, bro.
Wow.
And then we were like, by 10, the highest selling record that Victory had ever had after that. You know, it's just one of those weird things. It was like, Okay. I mean, since then they've had way bigger records. They had, Taking Back Sunday came out after that, and then it was like Silverstein and Hawthorne Heights had like a platinum record on Victory, and then I think the biggest artist they ever had to date now is I think A Day to Remember. But at the time,
Yeah.
like, Hatebreed had sold like maybe 70,000 records, and then it was just like,
Hey, whatever. That's great company for sure.
yeah, no, it was a cool legacy, but it was like really strange to have the guy be like, this record basically is like a nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
You blow up the whole
Let the
the
people
record.
decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll sign you, but this ain't nothing, but we'll sign you. Here you go. Yeah.
They fired the person that signed it.
What?
Yeah.
Because they signed you, or after that whole thing happened?
It seemed related, yeah.
It seemed really
That guy's probably like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like, these guys are on MTV now.
Yeah, dude, he's gonna look. He's
Yeah.
gonna be watching this podcast and just throw his drink across the room.
Well,
He's that guy at the bar saying like, yeah, I used to break bands,
yeah.
I think we all know that guy.
Tony Victory cashed out for a lot of money, so I don't think he cares.
With that being said, would you say touring, because I think after Victory, you guys signed to Island, correct? So you went from independent to major. Would you say touring is a big difference when you go from independent to major? Or is it kind of the same?
It's really hard to say because, when we were on a major, we had already like turned into like a 2,500 to 5,000 seater band. So at that point, we're not taking any loans from the record label because the band was doing fine. You know what I mean? We didn't need any help. We didn't want to recoup more money. We were just like, we're like in it, So I think starting out on a major or, getting support from a major when we needed it would have been really different. But I never got to really experience that. So I don't really know, the difference. Like it felt sort of similar.
Well, man, I could talk all day, but we're getting on like 45 minutes here. I want to be respectful of your time. If you have any stories off the top of your head that you want to end with, we'd love to hear it. Otherwise, we'll go into fan questions because, like I said, you had a shit ton of fan questions that we had to sift through. So, any other stories you want to end with, or should we just roll into fan questions?
I mean, there's a story this week. I have a Substack that I write a lot about tour on, and this week I had a story that was extremely not safe for work. But I don't know if you guys.
Oh God. Please. That's the kind of stories we love to hear.
Okay. So
we'll just warn the parents. We'll warn the parents.
Yeah.
Turn it off now if you're showing your kids.
It starts with basically like on Warped Tour, there are a lot of venues that are just parking lots and all you get all day are porta potties. And in the 110-degree heat, porta potties are a nightmare,
Oh yeah.
So we'd be waiting every morning in the morning while it was still cool as it could be, even though it was still hot, it was as cool as you could get. We'd be waiting for the fresh porta potties to be cut open, so that you could use it before anybody else used it. That was the dream. Man, I could porta potty before anybody else, So one day we're all running porta potty, and I remember like, just sitting there and taking my time, taking a shit and rubbing like, wiping or whatever and being like, oh, it's all blood, like, am I dying? Oh no. Like, cause I had internal bleeding a few years earlier and I thought like, oh man, like I don't want to go through all that again, like going to doctors and getting scans and like, all this stuff. So I was like pretty depressed. And I remember I was like starting to talk to my band about it, but the first band of the day starts playing and it's 30 Seconds to Mars, and we open and they're so loud you can't hear anything. So like I stopped my story about, bleeding and I'm watching this guy out there and I'm thinking like, man, this guy was so cool. He was in Requiem for a Dream, all this stuff. And now he's like, seems like he's kind of ripping off the Used or something. Like I'm not like, I don't get it. Like I don't get why he didn't come to music. You know what I mean? He had everything. He was like the coolest guy. Why would he come play in parking lots like us? That's crazy,
Right.
So I'm watching him and then Tucker's like, yeah, but he watches Thursday like pretty much every day. So like maybe he's not so bad, I'm like, maybe. And Steve's like, go see the medic, go see Dr. Bob, see if you got a problem because you're bleeding. So I go to the medic and he's like, all right, is it red blood? And I was like, yeah, it's red. And he's like, is it wet? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, it's probably nothing. If it was purple and hard, then I'd be worried, but it's probably nothing. So, outside in a tent in the middle of the day, he's like, just drop your pants and, grab your ankles. So I was like, all right. So I do that and he's like talking to me he's like saying like, oh, well, I think it's a tear, it's not a big deal. It's just like maybe you pushed too hard one day or something, it's not a big deal. Look here. And I'm like, I can't see anything, Doc. What are you talking about? He's like, oh, I'm not talking to you. I'm like,
someone else?
I'm like, who's he talking to? So I pull up my pants and I turn around and it's like the cute girl that I've seen around Warped Tour like the whole
Oh,
she's
no.
turns out medical assistant, and now before I get to meet her, she's been looking at my butthole.
Oh no.
So I'm like, hey, I'm Geoff. I gotta go though. Like, about to play. She's like, I know. I took off. This is my lunch break, so I can watch you. You're my favorite band on the tour, or whatever. I'm like, man. So we're over there
Yes.
playing, and like every time I start to feel really good, really like, yeah, the crowd loves us. We're awesome. I look over and
You look over and see her.
I feel the shrinking,
shame.
the shame.
Man.
Dude, that sounds like a story Steve would have for some
Honestly, it does sound like a story. I
and
would
for like
have.
multiple aspects of that story. So Geoff,
I
thank you so much for sharing
Like
that.
Curb
story,
Your
man.
Enthusiasm music, every time I.
Oh, for sure.
That's hilarious.
Well, dude, yeah, all these stories, man. I'm not even kidding. You can't see because I'm farther away, but like my eyes are watering, like all these stories. Dude. So, thank you so much for sharing all that stuff, man.
Awesome.
I think maybe we have to have you on another time if you have some
Sure.
time, but to get more tour stories. But we want to keep this short for you. So let's move on to some fan questions. Like I said, you got a
All right.
shit ton of fan questions.
Let's go.
Kudos to you, but I kind of had to sift through. Again, we're only an hour-ish podcast. We could probably just do all these questions and it'd be a podcast in and of itself. But so let's move on to the first one. How do you feel about being considered one of the most influential bands in the genre? I mean, I know we kind of talked about that early on from our experiences, but this is a true, probably debatable fact. But how do you feel about it, man?
It's funny, like, sometimes I think about like, oh, like I think that there are times when I wish that Thursday had become a bigger band, or, see some of our contemporaries. And I think like, why aren't Thursday as big as this band? And the thing is, when I was younger, before anybody cared or listened, I always thought like I would rather be like an underground band that's had like a lot of influence. People used to say of the Velvet Underground, they only had 1,000 fans, but every one of those fans started a band, and I always thought like, that's so cool. You know what I mean? Like to be the band that want to play music, like that's the ultimate, and, for better or for worse, like, I feel like that's the career that Thursday's had. And like, maybe I'm a little more broke than I would be otherwise, but like, it's still sort of every dream that I had when I was a kid came true, and I got to have the exact influence on music and culture that I always dreamed of. It doesn't really get better than that.
Yeah. No, that actually is funny. You bring up a good point, and I was in some bands back in the day, and maybe I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but we knew Richard Rains from Drive Through Records, and they were courting our band for a little bit. And they listened to our music. It was kind of like the same thing that you had said maybe with the Thursday thing, but it was like, yeah, you guys are more of a band's band. We're like. Like it was the same thing as like almost like oh, you have no hits on this record, but like if you're in a band, you'll love it. You know what I mean? So no, I think that's a great perspective.
Compliment,
Well, right. I mean, it was we were writing technical and things like, that if you're in a band, you like, oh wow, it was cool what they did there. But maybe not as commercial, but I think you brought up a great perspective. It's like what you're achieving is so ultimate gold, man. It's like, yeah, it's the story that Jason just said, like, you got me back into drumming, like, holy shit.
Yeah,
what kind of money is that worth?
Yeah, I love that.
So next question, who is your favorite singer? That might be a tough one.
No, it's not that tough. I actually like the singer that I wanted to be starting Thursday was PJ Harvey. And she's been so consistently great that like I can just keep her as like my favorite singer. Not my favorite artist. Like I would say like I always wanted Thursday to be The Cure, like something like that. Like I love The Cure. They're one of my favorite bands ever. But like PJ Harvey was my favorite singer. I loved how strange she was, how unique, how different, how like ready she was to play with her voice and be ugly. I think especially for like a woman, it's like to be an ugly singer at times is like it's a pretty daring thing to do. You know what I mean? And I love that.
It's awesome. Actually, you mentioned The Cure, and this is kind of like a fan question, but I was, No Devotions, I can sense is kind of like that direction, right? Like much more melodic and ethereal than Thursday, right? Would you say that that is kind of influence in that direction as far as being like that kind of band, like The Cure, for
Oh yeah,
example?
the Cure, New Order, the Stone Roses. It's very like,
Right.
I'm the only American in that band, and it feels very,
Oh,
hey, the rest of the band, it feels extremely UK, and you can tell those guys,
Yeah.
that's where they come from. You know what I mean? Like their biggest band was Oasis over there back then. You know what I mean? It's like it's a totally different
right.
set of references than I had when I
Sure.
was younger. But I really love that about that band, and I think that Thursday, it's like, if I always had my way, it would probably sound more like No Devotion, but it's good that I don't always have my way. You know what I mean? Bands are
Sure.
not one person. You know what I mean? Like some of people fighting over choices and the best idea winning. You know what I mean? I think that's really
Right. With that being said, I think one of the fan questions is when is United Nations and No Devotions coming back?
He's jumping the gun. I was
I'm
going to ask
jumping the
that
gun,
last, but
but
thanks
am
for
I?
there.
Sorry,
Thanks
he
for
went into
there.
The Cure, but I figured it was a good segue.
No, it's a good segue.
United Nations is the thing I get asked about more than anything else. Like when is that coming back? And man, I gotta those guys are all doing different stuff. Some of them play with Justice from Angel Dust and Trapped Under Ice. Some of them play with Pianos Become the Teeth. You know what I mean? Those guys are all busy. But I would love to get them back together. It just we haven't done anything in so long, it feels like at this point. But yeah, the people who love that band are like crazy about that band. Whereas No Devotion feels a little bit more like that's just something that I love and that I bring back. And if people love it, they love it. But it's not like the rabid fan base is about United Nations.
So anything on the horizon for either one, or is that still kind of, we'll see what happens?
I mean, United Nations, we're always writing. You know what I mean? We always have like stuff on the burners. It's simmering right now, but there's some songs that I'm like, oh, can't wait for people to hear that song,
Nice. So how has your writing process evolved through the years, and how do you balance with music writing? So I guess literature writing and music writing.
The balance is definitely hard. I mean, I would say that like for the last 7 I my daily practice is that I'm writing. Like I'm writing a book, I'm writing a novel, I'm writing a short story. It's like I have started using a day planner every day just so that I remember to work on music. Right now, I'm in the process, I'm about 180 pages into a new book. I have a whole collection of short stories. I'd say probably about a third done. I have two records that I'm working on. One of them, well, actually both of them I can't say what they are yet. We're always writing new Thursday music. A lot of it ends up on the cutting room floor, but there are a couple that I think are probably going to come out from what we're writing right now because they're really, really good. Yeah, I'm always staying busy. My partner, she has a TV show that's going to American Public Television, like PBS. And so I've been helping her with the audio on that to pass the standards of American Public Television, which is very strenuous standards. So I've been working on that with her and
Cool.
just always staying busy. You know what I mean? It's busy, busy, busy.
Wow. What's your favorite environment to write in?
That's a great question. I mean, it's not one that I get to use that often. My very favorite is there's like a light in Portugal in that if I'm there and I'm having a coffee in the morning, because I like to write in the morning, like 6 a.m. to like about 11 is my ideal writing time. That light there is so perfect for thinking and writing. It's so beautiful. Of course, I am never there, so I never get to do it. My second favorite writing environment is the New York Public Library. There's a reading room with a big vaulted ceiling that I love writing it too. So
Nice.
I
That's great.
Did you hear that, everybody? If you want to find Geoff Rickly in New York, New York Public Library,
It's
you go
true.
find him.
Just camp out in
It's
the reading
true.
room.
Very true.
So what are your favorite cities, states, or countries to visit?
Ooh, that's so hard because I love so many cities. I really I find so much to love in every city. San Francisco used to be one of my favorites. I think it's been a little drained over the last bunch of years. But I love Dallas. I love let's see what else. I love Chicago still. I love Boise, Idaho is so sick. I love Boise. I love London. I love Lisbon. I love Paris. I love Berlin.
So every city.
I love Cardiff. Cardiff, Wales is amazing. Where else is good? I love Detroit now. Detroit is fantastic. there are a lot of places that I used to really love that I think have not been benefited by like the tech surge. I think Austin has gone downhill. I think San Francisco's gone downhill. I think Portland and Seattle have both taken a hit. I just think anywhere that wealth disparity is big, it like really kills the city. You know what I mean? So like the drug use goes up and tax base goes down. Tough. It's hard on a city. You know what I mean?
Los Angeles.
Yeah. We feel that in LA for sure.
Yeah.
But LA's probably always had that problem.
Los Angeles still has good pockets of weird. The last time I was out there, I have a friend who has a studio in Santee Alley. Do you know Santee Alley? Like in the like fashion district?
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah.
Actually, that's actually down the street from the studio that we go. It's on 6th Street, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's pockets of weird for sure.
Yeah, pockets
Haven Studios, call out.
Yeah.
Haven Recording. But yeah.
Haven Recording, sorry, whatever. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Love you, buddy. So, your favorite meal?
You mean like breakfast or like the food itself?
It's funny. They actually said, "What's your favorite dish?" But I remember this. I remember this one meme I saw where someone's like, "Oh, I really like teapots," and I was like, "Well, I'm not going to say that." So I still blew it somehow. Yeah, I think they mean like your favorite thing to eat, not your favorite meal of the day. Jeff's like, I really like breakfast.
That's a really tough question because I was talking about my partner's TV show, but her show is about food makers in New York and the surrounding areas, and so we have a lot of friends who are like incredible food makers. I'd say that one of my favorites, I have a friend who I was in a band with who has this restaurant called Mission Chinese Food. And man, he's made some meals for me that like have blown me away. He'll like get me to try stuff that he's working on sometimes. And he had this fried rice dish that was like kind of like a stony, like it was like beef jerky and potato chips in the fried rice. It was so good. It was good. Like I dream about it sometimes.
Wow, that's my last question. But
Audible.
There was. Let's see how many other questions. We probably have 2 times that many questions that we're not going to get to. But actually, some of them we kind of peppered in throughout. So for the fans that didn't get to your question, it's not because we hate you. It's just because we're trying to be respectful of time here. Maybe if you guys ask play, maybe we could have Geoff on here again. So real quick, then we're gonna move on to anything you want to plug. I know we kind of peppered that stuff in there as well. I know you have a tour coming up. You should definitely plug that. But like books, maybe new merch, anything like that you'd like to use this time to call out and plug.
Yeah, I have a Substack that I think is so fun. So I do 4 different things. Every month I do the same 4 things. So the first thing I'll do an essay on something I'm thinking about, like I was talking about Jeremy Bolm and his secret voice that he did, with hard essay about that. I did an essay about like there's all these people online, like kids saying that maybe Sonic Youth actually sucked. And it's like, of course, Sonic Youth never sucked. They were amazing. They're kind of like the jam band of the alternative world. They're the Grateful Dead of our generation. Anyway, so that's like the first week. The second week will be a tour story about Thursday. The third week will be like an unreleased demo that I'm working on that I'll just put up on there. And then the fourth week will be something different every month. Sometimes I'll do behind the scenes of a tour, like a video diary of a tour. Other times I'll do like what I'm reading. Excuse me. But I think the Substack is really fun. It's called Solo Record, Geoff Rickly Solo Record, the Substack. And you can free or paid, but either way you get fun stuff. So,
well, I'll definitely you'll have to send me that link so I can put it in the description. But by the time everyone's seeing this, it'll be in the description below. So check that out. Is there anything else? Any other book stuff, band news? I know you said you're always writing. Anything else you'd like to plug real quick, or else we'll go into the last quickfire questions for you.
Yeah, I'm playing a couple of these last full city devolution shows. We're doing like Allentown, Brattlesboro, a few like, loose shows coming up in June. And then I'm going on a solo tour with Anthony Green in July. So that's fun. Yeah.
That looks awesome.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it for you, but yeah, we're all looking forward to that. I was looking at some of those dates last night too.
Anthony and I actually have an amazing surprise for everybody around that tour. So I can't that tour.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully we can make one then.
Yeah.
We'll have to see our schedule.
You're opening the first week or 2, right?
Yeah, the first 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're not doing all the
first 2 weeks. Any of them out here in the West Coast?
I think so. Yeah, I have a surprise. Like I end on the West Coast, and then I have like a surprise of something that's happening right after the tour too. Like I'm doing another like few shows with another project that this very secretive, but I can't wait for people to hear about the shows. And there will be an LA show of that. So
That's awesome.
All right, everyone, stay tuned for surprise Geoff Rickly announcement.
I wish
yeah. Well, maybe by the time we release this, maybe it won't be secret.
Maybe, yeah. I know.
I'm going to try to get this out real quick, though.
I'm like, when are y'all going to put these on sale?
Let's do the quickfire questions first, but then I'll have everyone in the band. You get one question, because I know Steve wrote like a shit ton of questions, too. Everyone in the band gets one question. So you guys get time to think about it. We're going to do our quickfire questions first, and then we'll end with our individual questions.
Okay.
So now, again, you don't have to go into too much detail here. The idea is to just get your quick answers. Worst show ever that you played?
Oh, there's so many. There was one that we did a Taste of Chaos tour where we were the headliner, but it was like 2009, so the band, like, people were not sick of us, but like, there's always a period at which a band cools off a little. So it was our cooling off period.
Sure.
And the bands opening for us were Bring Me the Horizon on their first US tour, Pierce the Veil, and 4 Years Strong. Bring Me the Horizon would play before us, and it was like the fucking Beatles. Like people were screaming.
Yeah.
And then we'd go on and there'd be like 100 people left. And there was a part of the tour that was sponsored by Denny's where they wanted us to go to Denny's afterwards, and they would feed us while the crowd came to watch us eat. And I remember we were sitting there, like, it was so depressing, you know what I mean? Because we had just played this show that was like 100 people left over from like 5,000 or something. And we were just like, and there are people screaming, watching Bring Me the Horizon eat. And there's a girl with a Thursday shirt standing right close to our table. And I was like, did you enjoy our set tonight? And she was like, did you play? And I was like, yeah. You're wearing my band's shirt. And she goes, this is a band? I just thought it was the day of the week.
And
I was
like a Target buy or something.
I was pretty blown away because I was like, wow, you can make a shirt that just has the day of the week on it and people don't know it's a band and they'll just be like, oh, cool, I love Thursdays. But it was very demoralizing. Yeah, okay, that's my answer.
Wow.
Well, our worst shows usually include like 3 people, but that's pretty good. Right, including the bartenders. Yeah. All right. Tour essentials. What do you need to bring on tour with you to be comfortable?
For me, it's like liquid vitamin D is a big one because I'm trying not to get sick. Zinc melts in case I do get sick. What else? Oh, and I bring marshmallow root. Like it's like a tincture. And I put 1 dropper of marshmallow root tincture in my stage water. And it really helps keep the voice like lubricated.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There you go, Jordan.
I'll have to look into that. That's
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Most underrated emo band or album?
Ooh.
And obviously emo band is a spectrum these days.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're underrated really, but I do think Texas is the Reason is like such a foundational band that like I think some of the kids don't know anymore. And it's like such a, like for me, like such a heavy hitter of a band. So I think they have 1 record. So that record.
I'll link that below too so people can check that out.
Yeah.
I love this. One of my favorite questions. Cringiest band name you had or almost had?
It's so bad. Before we had Thursday, I had 2, and Tucker saved us from them because he was like, they're so cringe. One was Lilting, Lilting, so bad. And the other was Heart Shot.
Heart Shot.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Heart Shot kind
cool.
of fits.
That's not
It
bad.
fits.
That's not
It fits
bad.
the genre. I mean, not your genre, but
Too
the era.
well. Too well. It fits the era
Too well.
you know what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying?
true.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, driving the genre in the den.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of like an 80s glam band kind of or something like that.
Yeah, it
That
could be.
is
Yeah,
true.
it could work.
Yeah.
I think of like Warrant when I hear Heart Shot.
Well, it's also like very New Jersey of like shot through the heart, like Bon Jovi, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
Exactly. All right. Favorite album?
That's tough. I mean, in some ways, I think you never outgrow like your favorite album when you were a kid. And for me, that was the Downward Spiral from 9 Inch Nails. So
Nice.
will always kind of be the record because it came out on my 15th birthday. I bought a fake ID to go see the record release show at Webster Hall in New York. Like, it's just like everything to me. You know what I mean? So,
all right, last one. And I think you already kind of mentioned this actually at the top of the podcast, but what are you listening to now?
Oh yeah, I listen to a ton of ambient music. As far as things that aren't ambient music, one of my favorite bands of the last few years, and this is so funny because of the name, but is the band Wednesday.
I will point out we are talking to you on Thursday.
Yeah. They're kind of like a countrified Built to Spill. But the singer Carly, she's like a really great lyric writer and storyteller. So I really love that. Let me see if there's anything else in my like what I've been listening to. There's a great Chinese songwriter named John Sung that has really weird different projects, and I really like everything he does. So yeah. I like Sloppy Jane. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sloppy Jane. Really cool.
I have to like go back and listen to this and try to link everything at the bottom so it's easier for everyone to check out. So
yeah.
All right. Now is the time. Everyone gets one question for Geoff before we let this guy go. Jason, you want to go first? Who wants to go first?
Do you ever get any pre-show jitters, anxiety? And if you do, like, what do you do for yourself to get out of it and snap out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get actual jitters at the beginning of a tour because I'm trying to stitch together ideas that I haven't done yet in front of people, whether it's a new song or a bridge between one song and another, or even like a new joke that I want to try out. Cause Thursday's quite a heavy band with like sad subject matter. So I like to tell jokes if I can. Right. If I can fit them in, I'll tell jokes between. And that makes me a little nervous is trying a new joke.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Period.
But then I also just get adrenaline before we play. And now I try to remember that like the feeling of nerves is a lot of times your body just ramping up and giving you a ton of energy. So it's almost like, remember, like you need this, like this feeling of like, it's like, this is good. Like I'm about to go give it, you know what I mean? Yeah. The first note. Yeah. It's gone. Yeah.
All right. So who has the next question?
All right. Yeah. Do you have a routine when you come home, like especially from a long tour? Like, do you just like decompress, turn everything off? What's your routine?
That's the dream. Oftentimes, especially if you live with other people who depend on you, they're kind of like they've been waiting for you to get home. And so you kind of like are dropped headfirst into a new routine that's like somebody else needs your time. So, when I was a little younger, I was a little more selfish with my time. And now I'm a little more generous with my time when I get home. But my favorite thing to do for decompressing is I go to the movie during the weekday. Like I go to any movie during the weekdays, the first showing of the day. So if there's a 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., that's the one I want. I want to be by myself in the theater.
Nice.
So that's a great one.
Yeah.
So another cheat code to find Geoff.
Yeah.
After tours, go to the
movies.
The only guy at a 10 a.m. movie.
Live at the Astoria movie theater. Yeah, that's where Geoff is. 10 a.m.
Nice. All right, Steve, you go and then I'll finish up.
Mine's simple. What's your favorite Thursday album?
That's a really good question.
Pick your favorite child.
Yeah. It changes over time, like the one that I enjoy listening to the most right now is No Devolution. But the one I'm proudest of right now is War All the Time, which is funny because for years I hated that record and I thought Full Collapse is the only one that matters. And now, like, weirdly, we did that tour where we were playing War All the Time every night. And I was like, this record is amazing. I love this is my favorite record that we've ever done. So it's funny. It's funny, like, there's the record that I think have the most impact, and there's the ones that I actually enjoy listening to. Like for me, No Devolution has the most intricate, beautiful sound design, and I enjoy that, like from a listener perspective. But like, then there's the records that had the impact, and that's obviously Full Collapse and War All the Time are the ones that like really changed the way people looked at the genre. So
that's awesome.
So I'm going to ask you a question. And there's absolutely no pressure. But I noticed that you have lent your voice to quite a few different artists through the years. What would it take for you to sing on our original project, My Side of Paradise? And do you tend to like to write lyrics as well, or just like be provided what you're supposed to sing? Like, how have you typically done that with artists in the past? And would you ever consider, no pressure, right?
Yeah, I generally like to be given everything just because like I don't want to have to work anymore than I have to.
Right, you're right.
I have so much that I'm busy with that I tend to just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. I have tried to make myself on a break moratorium for other people for a year so that I can finish all these projects. But send it over to me and we'll see what we can do.
All right.
No pressure. Just wanted to throw that in there for a little bit. But yes, thank you so much, Geoff. Really appreciate you taking the time, especially with all the projects you're working on, all the writing that you do, and probably your minimal window, I think, in a break from all this stuff. So really appreciate the time. I know the rest of the guys had a great time. Again, I was literally
so
crying.
glad we made it
tears
finally.
Yeah. And so look forward to this coming out very, very soon. I'll get this out, but then also following up right away with the performance that we did at the pool party a couple years ago. So thank you again, man. Really appreciate the time. Geoff Rickly, everybody.
Thank you,
The
guys.
multi-talented.
Thank you,
Thanks,
my
Jeff.
friend.
Man.
Appreciate it, man.
it. Bye.
Have a good one.
You too.